Keonte is the key to everything, and last night he showed he still has the combination. It's next on Locked on Jazz. Bum 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 bum.
You are Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
How are you? I am David Locke. Today's show brought to you by Game Time. Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. On today's show, we'll do a Trends Monday leftover from yesterday. We will rank the youngsters that are left on the roster at Game 60, even though we're at 61. We're doing everything one day off. We'll talk about the performance last night by Elijah Harkless and Kyle Filipowski against the Denver Nuggets, but we have got to start with Keonte George, who was just masterful last night in a super fun game against the Denver Nuggets. Last night was just a little taste for our palate of what next year is going to be like, where these games matter, the building rocks, everyone's into it. If you were Jaren Jackson Jr. last night and you were on the bench and you were watching, your reaction was, I get to play with that guy. And Keonte George was terrific. He and Jamal Murray really kind of dueled, very reminiscent of the bubble with Donovan and Murray did when the Jazz and the Nuggets played in the playoffs, probably the biggest what-if playoff series in Jazz history, right? Like, what if there had not been a day delay? What if Mike Conley's shot had gone? What happens if that Jazz team could have closed? That's the series. That's could have the Jazz won the bubble championship? I think the answer is yes, had they won that series. And nonetheless, we move forward. Evidently too soon. Keonte was just incredible last night. He played 30 minutes coming off the injury, and Jamal Murray was better. Jamal Murray's an all-star and was great. Keonte was 14 of 22. He was 4 of 9 from 3. He was 4 of 5 from the free throw line. But what jumps out about last night was the way he did it. The way without Lauri Markkanen and without the Jaren Jackson Jr. and without Walker Kessler and without the pick setting of Jusuf Nurkic, that he was still so visibly great. I said this on Postcast last night, but I think it's important. We're watching everyone play in these kind of weird settings without a lot of guys. Like, Keonte elevated himself and showed himself to be at a level that none of the other guys have been able to reach. It just showed you where he is and how good he truly is right now. What jumped out to me last night about Key that has really changed is the handle and the ability to get wherever he wanted and needed to get to on the floor. There were multiple plays, and sometimes, they jump out to you a little bit because of where I'm sitting and my angle, where there was just a sliver, a tiny little sliver for him to work his way through, where I'm watching, I actually have a pretty good line on it, and I don't see the space. And he's now strong enough, smart enough, has a good enough, tight enough handle, and enough confidence to drive into that little space, not turn it over. He did turn it over 4 times last night. And draw the contact in the foul. Went to the free throw line 5 times. Was able to get to the window a bunch. Kind of had the perfect shooting distribution last night. He took 22 shots last night. 8 of them were within 5 or 6 feet. He took 2 or 3 long floaters, 2 mid-range shots, 1 corner 3, and 8 above the break threes. He was 4 for 4 at the rim, 4 of 7 in the paint non-restricted, so you back those out a little bit. Hit his 2 middies. Really, just kind of, if you actually want Keonte George's shot chart on a given night, and I don't think he's getting 22 shots when Lauri and Jaren are back, but if he were, 21 shots, 9 threes, and 7 free throws, and we're there. So, to me, last night was monstrously important because Keonte is I believe, I know Ryan Smith has kind of said otherwise, but, and I'm not saying he's not telling the truth, but I still believe this. Without Keonte having the year he's had, I don't think the Jazz have the gumption to make the Jaren Jackson Jr. trade. There just would have been too many other pieces that had to be added to the puzzle to make that trade worth it. The piece of that puzzle is that Key is good enough to be the ball handler, can create, can score late, can make plays. Neither Jaren Jackson Jr. or Lauri Markkanen can go really make plays in the final 5 minutes of the game. There've been 2 or 3 little tiny quibbles about the way the Jazz roster is going to be constructed next year from people that are all legitimate. So the lack of playmaking, ball handling is certainly one of them. I think there's a lack of shooting. I think that's the other one. And then there's just kind of been this other subtle kind of thing. And Key's the answer to that. And that is, can Keonte make enough plays late in games so that for the Jazz next year? I mean, that is kind of the subtle thing that's been out there. Because neither, everyone, well, you don't really have a number one guy. That's the way they're saying it. And Keonte may not be a pure number one guy, but if he can play with the tenacity that he did late last night, and the way that the ability to get where he wants to, and that confidence, that's enough. Keonte, in the final 6 minutes of the game last night, Keonte went 6 of 9 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3. He scored 15 points in the final 6 minutes and 21 points. That's enough. That was remarkable. And that's maybe the most important piece here for the Utah Jazz next year, is that you really are not giving Lauri the ball on an ISO, and you're not really giving the ball on Jaren Jackson on a late game ISO. That is not what these guys do. This is not what that is stretching both of them a little beyond where you want them to be. That is going to have to be Keonte's time. And Keonte showed that last night. Jaren Jackson Jr. is the best player on this basketball team. He won Defensive Player of the Year. He's done all these things. He's incredible. But he's not perfect. In the clutch this year, he's 8 of 37 from the field, 22%, and 1 of 11 from 3. Okay, that's not great, because that's not his game. And when they didn't have Ja Morant, they don't have things. The year before, he was better. He was 47% from the field and 4 of 12 from 3, but he played most of those minutes with Ja Morant or Desmond Bane. And then Jaren Jackson's better. But when Jaren Jackson doesn't have Ja Morant or Desmond Bane late in games, Jaren Jackson Jr. is not a guy you just want to go give the ball to. If you want to give me a weakness, that's probably it. 3 years ago, he was 44% from field and 1 of 8 from 3. And there was some Desmond Bane with him that year. Not a lot, actually. In less than half the games he played in the clutch, it was Desmond Bane. So this is where Key is vital. And what we saw last night, Key was awesome. Awesome. And his growth, his confidence, his tenacity, all those things, awesome. And he's only going to get better, because once you've tapped into this, the work he and Chris Jones are doing, Key's going to only keep working. You work that hard, you get this results, you keep working. And that was a big-time performance. Jamal Murray was better. But Jamal Murray, or as good, frankly. And that was pretty awesome to watch. That was a great game last night. That was so fun. Season tickets for next year are available at utahjazz.com. That was the energy the building's going to have next year. Ron Boone at one point looked at me and goes, gosh, our fans are incredible. And it really is true. And boy, is next year going to be great. All right, there were a lot of other highlights last night. I loved what I saw to Kyle Filipowski. I thought we saw Isaiah Collier in the role you're going to ask him to play. So this conversation we've been having for a week or two now of like, what role are we asking him to play next year? We actually saw Isaiah Collier play that role, and I thought he thrived. And Elijah Harkless won over Hearts last night. We're talking about it all as we continue on today's edition of Locked on Jazz. Tuesday edition of Locked On Jazz is brought to you by my friends over at Murdoch Hyundai. I am driving the Palisade right now, the calligraphy Palisade. Wow. I'll tell you what, I guess if you want to make sure that you have a brand name that has like 2 R's in it, or if you need to have some German something or other, and you want to pay $80,000 to $100,000 for a car, go for it. It's on you. But if you want magic and keep the pricing at a decent level, the Santa Fe hybrid that I've driven and the Palisade calligraphy that I've driven recently are just truly remarkable. I'm so blown away by the quality of these cars and what all the details and the level of detail and what they have. It's just absolutely beautiful. We also have the Ioniq 5 that I drive all the time, which is the electric. My dad loves his Ioniq 6. He was just in town telling me about it. So if you're going to stop by Murdoch Hyundai at 4646 South State Street or in Logan or in Linden, please email me. In Linden, not in Logan, in Linden. Please, what did I just say? Logan, Linden, and 4646 South State Street. Please let me know, and we'll set you up with a VIP meeting to check out Murdoch Hyundai. Today's show is also brought to you by TurboTax. It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth, and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve, and while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment. Thanks so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. Thank you for making us the #1 sports podcast network. And to the everydayers out there, we love having you. If you're an everydayer, today you received kind of an empty the noggin, which we will do probably next year all the time, but some of these games haven't really felt like they were worthy of empty the noggin. So I dropped a few notes for them. If you are a member of the Everydayer Club, you got those for you sitting in your inbox when you wake up this morning from last night's ballgame. Actually sent them early this morning about the things I saw in the game. You get one-on-one texting with me for the Everydayer All Access Club. You get a newsletter in your inbox after every single show. You also receive merch store, 15% off in the merch store and access to the merch store that nobody else has. Leave Tuline's bonus content coming your direction with breakdowns of the draft prospect and all that. You get reaction to every rumor and every story that's out there involving the Utah Jazz immediately sent right to your phone. Plus, you get ad-free Locked On Sports Today, ad-free Locked On Jazz, and access to the Discord channel, which was popping last night. That's all at lockedonjazz.supercast.com. That's lockedonjazz.supercast.com. Promo code JJJ gets you 1 month free. If you buy for the whole year, you get 2 months for free. That's it. lockedonjazz.supercast.com. Love having you guys aboard. Love the new Everydayer program we've built for you and love having this group. Really enjoy it. Someone asked me, Nathan Harker, one of our people, asked me what was the how much extra work is this for me? And I said, it's a little bit, but it's been great because it's dealing with the diehard sports Jazz fans who really care. Welcome to Jesse Wardle, who joined yesterday as a new member of the Everydayer Club. Glad to have you. All right. I thought last night was really interesting. I thought Kyle Filipowski, you're seeing development. We talked about how he's better defensively. I thought he got put on an island a bunch of times last night, and he got beat a lot. I actually thought he held his own and played. He's just not getting humiliated on those. Jamal Murray hit a bunch of fadeaway shots. Jamal Murray's awesome. And I thought he defended really, really nicely or at least tried on a bunch of them in a way that's better than we used to see. The other one I loved was a 2-play sequence on Jokic where Filipowski gets it. And, he's not been a great rim finisher. And then he's working at it. And he talked about how he kind of studied actually Jokic himself, and he studied Luka to try to figure out what the best answer for him to finish late was. And he got one of them last night, and he pump faked Jokic and froze him and then put it on the deck and moved by him for a layup. Jokic not mobile, and Jokic ever going to block a shot. Like, and so for Kyle to have the awareness of like, okay, I can actually, this is one of the few guys I can attack and know the personnel, and to show that little ball fake and then drive by, I thought was terrific. The other thing is he played in the middle of the floor against some of their defenses really, really well. And then after he had that on another play right afterwards, then he attacked really quickly with a right-hand drive to the basket. Those were two, to me, impressive plays, and they happened within about 2 minutes of each other in the third quarter. And the fact that, to me, those were just growth plays. Those were, okay, you're learning, you understand who you have on the floor, you understand what you're doing right now. And it just showed me a lot more out of Kyle. And there was also a level where he understood Jokic. He lowered the left shoulder into him on those drives and was able to kind of willingly attack him, knowing that Jokic didn't have the verticality. And Kyle's can't get up. And so when he plays the guys that are really, really long, if he tries, that's not going to work. But his understanding, like, oh, I can do that to Jokic. That's where you get better and better. And, Will talked about his defensive growth last night as part of his defensive growth being that he's recognizing personnel defensively and what he's doing, of knowing who he can guard and how he can guard them and things like that. And I thought we're seeing that. So, hey, at this point, remember, we're talking about how incredible Keonte is, and he is. At this time last year, we're not talking about that with Keonte. And so let's see what happens with Isaiah and Kyle Filipowski in their offseason, what they can do. But Kyle last night, 19 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, really a monster night, and was very, very good. Isaiah Collier last night played 20 minutes in the exact role that you would ask him to play on a good team. And I was impressed. He does not shoot a three. He has 6 assists. The one thing that's getting interesting about him right now, and I don't know what I think about it, is how high his usage rate is. I think there's 2 things going on here. I think he knows he's playing limited minutes, trying to prove it, but he had the second highest, or basically tied with Sensabaugh for the second, third highest usage rate on the team last night. The other thing I think is happening there is teams are not, they know he's driving to pass. And so no one's leaving anyone. And so he's kind of stuck and has to make plays. But again, there was a play last night that jumped out to me about Isaiah Collier. And that was, he put the body bump down last night. His move right now is he drives to the basket, into the defender, and then he gets to he fades back with like a little 5 or 6, 7 footer in the lane. Last night, there was a play where he lowered the shoulder, made the contact, and then stepped through for a layup, which I had not seen before. And if you look at his 5 field goals last night, they're all around the basket, but there's a lot of him just understanding Denver's defensive weaknesses. Again, Jokic is not very good defensively, where he just comes in the floor and drives to the basket and gets in the lane and scores in early offense. And those plays are pretty darn important. Now, he takes 2 shots outside about 8 feet last night, and he misses both of them. And this is obviously, he's going to have to figure this out. But boy, I mean, when he got the ball on the open floor on one of them on the right side, early offense, Julian's rather backpedaling. Jokic is the one guy back, and he just knows I'm fast enough to get there, and Jokic is not a rim defender, and he just took it. It was great recognition. Jazz recognized personnel very well last night, and went after Tim Hardaway Jr. and took advantage of Jokic, and took advantage of Jokic in the open court in a very, very good way. The play where he stepped through, he came with his left-hand dribble, he lowered his right shoulder, and it's one where he fades back, and Bruce Brown was on him tight, and then he actually stepped through him for a layup. I think they credit him like a 7-foot floater, but I don't think it was that long. And I really, again, we're just Denver's defensive weaknesses, which are problematic for them as a playoff team, I think are ones where the Jazz took advantage of it last night and understood that they didn't have any rim defense and that. And then the other one on Isaiah, I think the fact that he actually creates his own fast breaks, there's something of immense value to that. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to calculate it. I got to look at it statistically. But the fact that the guy can literally create his own fast break is got to be worth something. Like literally rebound, outlet, and then Isaiah's just faster than every single person. He goes coast to coast. So I thought that was really encouraging last night about Isaiah. Elijah Harkless is going to get a lot of love, and he should. He played his ass off. He's an incredible defensive player. The statistics do not show that like the Jazz shut down them, but in the 5 minutes in which Harkless guarded Jokic last night, which is a weird thing because they switch and do other things, but according to NBA.com, Jokic only got 2 shots off Harkless all night in 26 minutes, which is amazing. And he was battling and changed the game, and I think gives everyone else energy. I'm not discrediting Harkless, but I do want to this is kind of, I'm very consistent on this. So the flashy thing, if you watch that game, was Harkless into Jokic's legs and all the things he was doing, and Jokic being uncomfortable, and Jokic not getting his touches, and they're really bothering Jokic and playing this defensive style, and everyone's loving it, and EJ's getting his hands on balls, and he's amazing. Okay, that's all true. Those were the headlines. That's what's grabbed. Now the fact that Denver scored at a higher rate last night when Harkless was on the floor than when any other player was on the floor. That is not an indictment of Elijah Harkless, but that is the flashy defense that was unique and bothered Jokic and did all these weird things did not slow Denver down, if that makes sense. The one key on the game last night was that their offensive rating was actually better when Jokic was off the floor than on the floor. And Harkless didn't match Jokic's minutes, I don't think, in the 27 minutes. I'd have to look at that. But they really, last night, the key to their game, the reason Denver won that is that they were actually better when Jokic, offensively, when Jokic was off the floor, which they almost never are. All right. We did not do our rank of our youngsters, which are fewer than there used to be at 60. And I owe you a Trends Monday. So both those things are coming your direction as we continue on today's edition of Locked on Jazz. Today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp. It is International Women's Month right now, and so let's honor the women in our worlds and who are there for us, and make sure that we recognize the work that they are carrying, the load they are carrying at work and relationships and family, and all the unseen roles that they step into every day. It's easy to celebrate that strength, but it's also just as important to make space for their emotional well-being, and honestly, that goes for all of us, whether it's a mom, a sister, a coworker, whatever it might be, how much they carry, always saying so. It makes me think how many of us are doing the same thing. The role we play, the expectations we carry, the pressure we don't always talk about. Therapy can help with all that, creating balance, setting healthy boundaries, and supporting you overall well-being. With over 30,000 licensed therapists and more than 6 million people served worldwide, BetterHelp is the best and the world's largest online therapy platform, and it works. Fill out a short questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist, and if it's not the right fit, switch at any time. Your emotional well-being matters. Find support and feel lighter in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/lockedonnba. That's betterhelp.com/lockedonnba. betterhelp.com/lockedonnba. Today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. Fill in early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts. There's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn the energy into a bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want, rivalry game, ranked matchups, whatever fix you need. You can mix spreads, totals, player props to match how you see the slate playing out. And then you can apply the profit boost, instantly bump up the potential payoff. Look at the odds and see which matchups you like. Go safe, go bold, ride with your team for the following all season. It's your parlay, your style, and now with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com, FanDuel.com. Play your game. And today's show is also brought to you by Indeed. Are you in the job market looking for someone to hire right now? And Indeed is your answer. Indeed sponsored jobs. Indeed sponsored jobs help you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In a minute, I've been talking to you. Companies like yours make 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend time, less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all the boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Indeed sponsored jobs, and you need the right person to cut through the chaos. This job is for Indeed sponsored jobs, and listeners on the show will get you $75 sponsored job credit to help you get your job premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast right now, and support our show by saying you heard it about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This job is for Indeed sponsored jobs. So each 10 games, we were going to rank the 7 players other than Ace Bailey when the year started that were most likely to be part of a playoff team. So when the year started, it was Keyonte, Taylor, Bryce, Cody, Isaiah, Flip, and Walter Clayton. Ace Bailey was not a part of our list, nor was Walker Kessler. We have since traded 2 of them. So we're down to 5, and Keyonte has clearly elevated himself as number 1. Who's next? Now, the question's curious. The way I phrased it all year was a rotation player. I think was the question, or on the roster when he plays. I think Flip's earning a roster spot. I think Flip's showing some real signs of development as a 5th big on a roster who could play if people are hurt. I'm seeing really nice development growth there at times. At other times, not so much. I mean, he's been playing 20 minutes a night. He has not been playing like 34. He's not been putting a stamp on a game. We have not been playing these big high-profile bigs. I don't want to overplay it. But of the group, I think that is there. I was super encouraged last night on Isaiah. Denver's bad defensively. Jazz exploited it. And I want to watch this. Here's the vibe I had last night. The coast-to-coast plays, the highlight headline plays that Isaiah makes. The fewer minutes he plays, the more important they are. So sometimes when you watch Isaiah play an entire 32 minutes, there's just so many possessions where because they're not guarding him and he can't get the offense started and he's just dribbling through it and doing all that I feel like we just get kind of stuck. And that didn't feel like it happened as much last night, probably because of Denver. But also, if he's on the floor for 20 minutes and he goes coast to coast 3 times, it seems more impactful to me than when he goes coast to coast 3 times over 34 minutes. When I'm watching him over a 34-minute time, it feels a lot of times like the possessions that get dragged out to 13 and 12 before the first possession because he drives and doesn't get anything and they're not guarding anyone else and he backs up and then he tries it again or something. Those seem to me to be, there's too many of those. But in a shorter stint, maybe they aren't as prominent. I'm going to go with Bryce next. This has not been a super stretch for him. And, we continually refer to Bryce Sensabaugh as a great shooter. And that actually he needs to show. He's at 34.5% from 3 this year. That's not a great shooter. He's getting 7 or 8 right now a night, which is terrific. And he's taking him in tighter windows, which he's got to learn how to do, which is terrific. And then he's got to make them more. But maybe when you're taking him in the tighter window, you're not quite as comfortable. And generally, I would say, recently, since his time has increased up over about the last 11 or 12 games, if you kind of look at this most recent stretch, his overall 3-point shooting has been good. But I mean, I'm just being totally frank. Like, if he's an elite shooter, it's 38, 39, 40, really 42, 43. And that's over the last 10 games where he's been. He's been at 39% over the last 10 games. So, but he's at 34 for the season. But that's just what so that's how he, that's how he gets in. The last 10 games, 11 games. I think I stretched to give him 11 because it gives him a 4 for 7. But if you look at his last 10 games, he's 37% from 3. And that's kind of where he has to be. And if he does that, comes off the bench, shoots 37, really 40% from 3, then it's good. And then Cody's got to, unfortunately, be 4th. There have been all these flashes in these moments. He's just not impacting more than one play at a time. Some of the defensive stuff has not been as prevalent. His impact on games has not been as prevalent. And there's also been a few nights where he's just kind of out there, as Ron Boone likes to say. And he's stopped taking threes since he's missed 7 in a row. And I think he's missed like 11 of his last 12 or something like that over the last 10 games. So that's smart that he probably shouldn't take those. It's the right way to do it. But that's also a hard way to live. That's a detriment and a wart on your game that is pretty significant to overcome right now. All right, that's my ranking of that. I've run out of time again for Trends Monday, so we'll just do it very, very quickly for you. The Trends Monday is we look at the last 10 games in the NBA, and it tells us who's the best what. In the span, the best offensive team in the NBA over the last 10 games is the Charlotte Hornets. It's a pretty great story. San Antonio's 2, Cleveland is 3, Denver, who we saw last night, is 4, Pelicans are 5, might be because they played us twice. Boston is 6. Boston's top 5 offense and defense. Teams that can't score right now are Chicago, Sacramento, Brooklyn, Washington, Phoenix without their guys, and Indiana. We are 22nd in the league offensively in the last 10 games. Defensively, Boston's the best in the NBA, followed by Detroit, New York, Orlando back up there. That's worth noting. San Antonio, and then Oklahoma City. Teams that can't defend right now, Sacramento still in that spot. Washington, Dallas, Indiana, Brooklyn. And it's worth noting the Jazz are 17th in the league defensively over the last 10 games. That's without a lot of our guys, and that's with Kyle playing a lot of center, and it's pretty good. Like, I know that's not like you're going to rage and go crazy about being 17th, but we've been average defensively here for a while. And the Jazz have put in some new systems actually defensively in that time period. Over the last 2 weeks, a little shorter period, Charlotte still the number 1 offense. Boston, Lakers, number 3, Houston, and Miami with San Antonio at 6. Teams that can't score. Phoenix is the coldest team in the league right now. Then Chicago, Brooklyn, Portland, Washington, and Indiana were 24th in the league offensively. We're 25th in the league defensively. Best defense in the NBA over the last 2 weeks is the Atlanta Hawks. Boston, then Oklahoma City, Detroit, San Antonio, and Orlando. Sacramento, Brooklyn, the worst, Sacramento, Brooklyn, Indiana, Milwaukee, who we play, Washington, and Utah. That's your Trends Monday. That's Locked on Jazz. Thanks very much. If you'd like to follow me on socials, it's DLock09. If you want to join the Everydayer program, we would love to have you. Everydayer program is at everyday lockedonjazz.supercast.com. Join us. You can get the Locked on Jazz ad-free and the Discord channel and Locked on Sports Today for $5, or join the All Access Club. Get into the noggin, get newsletters, get everything. Get inundated. Be the most in-the-know fan you can be at lockedonjazz.supercast.com. We now send you the first ever 24/7 national NBA channel, Locked on NBA on YouTube. First ever on YouTube. On audio, we send you the Locked on. Check out Locked on NBA with the Big 3 and 30 and at Game